Welcome to the Managing Change series from SpeakIn. Today we have with us Mr. Geoff Burch, who's one of the all-time business gurus, author of the iconic and highly regarded book on sales, Resistance is Useless, and 5 other best-selling business titles. Geoff is also a regular business presenter on BBC television and radio. Welcome, Geoff. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
Very honored. I'm very excited. Nice to speak to you. Yeah.
Same here. I'm so glad that we have this time to get, to meet you and to talk to you.
Good. So how can I help?
So we're hosting a series of business seminars, and there were just a few questions that we wanted to talk to you and ask you. So if you could just answer some of the questions that we have. First is, so at these times globally businesses have suffered and sales have gone down. So what type of businesses do you feel have been the most affected in terms of the total sales made?
Well, I mean, a lot of my customers have, they've had a terrible time. I mean, probably one of the worst affected is business speakers like me, because every conference in the world has been cancelled. I mean, all international travel has been stopped.
Sure.
But I mean, a particularly badly hit one is anybody who has a perishable product. So, I mean, one of my favorite clients is our big companies, I don't know if you have the same in India, are garden produce company, garden centers where people buy little plants for their house or for their garden. Well, these plants don't live. So if your shop is shut, then your plants die, and so does all your stock. If you sell cars, the cars don't die. If in 3 months you open, the cars are for sale again. But your plants and your vegetables and your fruit and your meat, that doesn't survive so well. So some people are, and of course, with the garden business, they have one season in the year where everybody goes to buy their plants for the new season. And they have put all their money into this one year. 90% of everything goes in there, and that's wiped out. So they're going to have a really hard time.
Truly. So any other type of businesses that you feel have been affected apart from this?
Everybody. I mean, my own industry, of course, but of course, I mean, for instance, I had a major motor manufacturer had a big sales conference with over 1,000 people. Now, the hotel they were going to charges $300 a day per person, and this was a 5-day conference. So that's $3 million gone, just gone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So but it isn't all bad.
True. I mean, we're bound to come back, but yes, this is very important right now. What we're doing, isolation in terms of that people don't suffer. Business, of course, is going to come back and bounce back.
That's what they do, absolutely. And the exciting thing is for me, I work for big corporations to help with their leadership and sales. But my favorite businesses are little tiny businesses. The smaller, the better. And they are like, I know you're sure you know the story of the Titanic ship sailing towards the iceberg, and they knew they were going to hit that iceberg for 2 miles, but they couldn't stop. They were too big. And this is the big companies, the airlines and the car, they can't stop. But a little business is like a man in a canoe. He even 1 meter from the iceberg, he can turn. So, my advice for small businesses is if they imagine themselves to be this little canoe, but you imagine this canoe with maybe a cow in it, and you're going to fall over. So what you need to do if you're a small business is, first of all, is to get all that extra weight. Don't be afraid. Get on the phone, speak to your suppliers, speak to your landlord, speak to your people, and try and unload as much weight as you can so that you can survive. You don't want extra weight. You need to be And again, here's the thing: why am I being so helpful and kind and friendly when I'm really a grumpy old monster? And the the reason is, you know, that all the people who work with me, they have a different name, and they're called customers. And if I don't have any customers when this is over, I shall sink too. So anybody out there who maybe is a landlord, maybe owns some property and is tempted to start throwing people out, they've got to ask where their rent is going to come from when we start back. You know, we have to support each other with this.
Absolutely. Well said. So, Geoff, given the time of crisis, what should be the sales strategy of small businesses or startups whose existence has been under threat right now? And
well, first of all, don't lie in the sun and wait for death. You know, if I mean, the fact is that we should have our sales plans and our relationships planned for 6 months in advance, when hopefully all this is over. So while we can start making those calls, we can start getting what is left of our people together and getting them ready and started, and we can spend some time writing those preparations that we never bothered to do and tidying our stock rooms that we never bothered to do, and perhaps teaching some of our people how to really make the best of things. Because I mean, I had a holiday planned in the sunshine. We don't have sunshine here. It's something we never see. And that's gone. But you know, the first thing I'm going to do when this is over is I'm going to have a holiday. You know, so are there going to be any holiday companies left? And when this stops, are they going to be able to handle the massive amount of demand that there's going to come back? Because once we're out, we're going to be like children in a playground. We're going to want to have fun again. You know.
True. All right. Also, the sales strategy for the big businesses who don't essentially risk shutting down, but just need to take the numbers to the equilibrium. What should be the strategy for those?
Well, I think for them, first of all, don't lose your very best people. You have to do absolutely everything you can to look after your small suppliers. I mean, we have things in England, I won't mention their names, but some companies have behaved very badly. They've lost their staff with no pay. They've tried to stay open against the advice of the medical people. They broke the rules because they think they're so big and important. But people have very long memories. So if you are a big company, if you're seen to be kind, if you're seen to be thoughtful, if you're seen to be making the best effort that you can, people are going to remember when it comes back. They're going to remember the good people. So first advice to big companies, be good. And the second advice is to be ready for this, to be ready for this comeback. And in that, I write very, very difficult to understand sales books, but I also write very easy to understand sales books. And I find that I can get the best performance from a big company by working with the frontline and ordinary people than I can the very best salespeople are working at 95%. You know, so if I work very hard, maybe I can add another 5%, so they work at 100%. But all the truck drivers and service engineers and all the people who meet the customers, who really can't be bothered, they work at 0%. So you know, it's very easy to get a grumpy guy who works in the parts department of your business to be thoughtful about what the customer needs, and the customer says, I need this little device, and the guy go, oh, you know, do you know that if you buy this special adhesive, which may seem a little bit more than you wanted to spend, it makes the jobs 10 times easier. The customer listens to them, and it increases sales through being kind and thoughtful about what your customer needs. I mean, in a toy shop, you know, the grumpy guy hands you the toy for the child. The smiling guy tells you that you need a packet of batteries with it. So on the gift day, the child can play with the toy because the thoughtful assistant mentioned the batteries.
Absolutely.
I say that your people can either be ambassadors or assassins. You know, so.
Oh, very apt analogy. Absolutely. Ambassadors or assassins. Wow. True. Okay, Jeff. So the next question is, how difficult or easy is selling a service during these times vis-a-vis selling goods?
It's easy selling goods that people are desperate to buy for some unknown reason. In England, everybody has run out of toilet paper. God only knows why. People must have rooms full of toilet paper, whether they're eating it or not. And some company in Germany is making a cake that looks like toilet roll, you know, because to celebrate the fact you can't buy any in the shops. So the easy things are easy. The things like selling all our car sales places have shut down and so on. But all of this is going to come like a tidal wave. We must be ready for that. We must stay in touch with our customers. We've got to keep our customers alive. So we should be in touch with every customer and say, if we made flour, you know, obviously maybe the little village baker's shop maybe the guy's died, maybe his family is starving, but maybe he's okay, we don't know. Just imagine how the little village baker would feel if the great big flour mill rang him up and said, you know, hey, Mr. Kumar, how are you? You know, we're worried about you. Are you managing all right? What we can do to help you? Remember us when this is over. We looked after you. I think that's another thing we need to do, is to be in touch, not just we call this a lockdown. So some people are taking this too literally. They're just sitting in a cupboard, you know, waiting for this to go away. But I don't think I've ever worked harder, because I'm a naughty boy. I have a wife who makes sure that I behave myself. She locks me. This is my office. I'm locked in here. I'm allowed one toy. If you look behind me, there's a pinball machine. That's all I'm allowed, and otherwise it's just books. I promised everybody I would write a new book and haven't done anything. So I've been locked in here with my crayons and colored paper to write my book. I'm doing a lot of these type of podcasts, which I absolutely love. That's been so much fun. I don't think I've ever done so many. So when I talk to people like you, it actually makes me think about business instead of my stomach.
Right.
So,
and we get to hear you guys, so I think it's been good so far.
Yeah. So I mean, it's important, and again, as a business thinker, this has made me think. I mean, this has really demanded a lot from me, because is there going to be any business after this? Has the world changed? I mean, yeah. I mean, one of the things I do is I work with enormous companies on what they call lean and agile, which nobody knows what it means. It's just nonsense. It's just this sort of, you know, people have read big business books, but all of a sudden they mean things. Like agile means what it says. It's not a business model. It's about, can we change direction really quickly? And lean means, do we really need that huge office block full of vending machines and bean bags and this, when people are working well from home? And do you know what? Here's a funny old thing. You can trust people. Because, you know, the British business manager is the grumpiest man alive. And his first thought is, my staff will steal from me. You know, either time. There's an old joke where a little boy in a playground says, my daddy makes cars. And the other boy, he says, your daddy works in the tax office. And he said, oh, they make things. And he said, they make things in the tax office. What things? He said, well, toilet rolls, light bulbs, and pens. And he said, they make those. And he said, well, that's all he ever brings home. Yeah. So, but it's come to a massive surprise to bosses here that people can be trusted to work very well at home. And to all us horrible men, we can help take care of all the kids that are home from school. You know, we can do our work. We can look after the kids. Our wife can do her work. She can look after the kids. I mean, it's a big surprise. So when this is finished, maybe none of us will ever go back to our offices ever again, you know.
That's the dream. Let's see if that really happens. But yes, I think that's a possibility now. We've all learned that we can do that. Saving massive amount of travel time, you know, the appliances that are needed in the office. I mean, so much of cost saving, and I think just, you know, the internet costs and everything would be saved. So yes, that should be a possibility.
Yeah. Marvelous. I mean, again, if you work in London, and I'm sure it's some of the big cities in India the same, you spend half your life traveling. We see video back here of the trains in India at first thing in the morning, and the people sitting on the roofs and hanging out the windows, and you think, you know, you could have done all that down the internet, you know. Again, but it needs bosses to put trust in their people. You know, after this, there's going to be a reckoning. There's going to people we could trust and people we couldn't trust.
Absolutely. So, Geoff, do you think during these tough times we can embrace the idea of selling yourself first, then selling your product?
Well, we have to. I have a saying which says production minus sales equals scrap. You know, and again, people who make things and who've got customers, they've become lazy and complacent because they don't think, you know. But here's the thing. You see, sales has always been reserved for salespeople. But actually, it's about moving people. So now, our government has a very big sale. The British people are very ill-behaved and they don't like being told what to do. So the government has got to sell us the idea that we mustn't go out and cough over each other, you know. You can't go into the streets of England with a stick. It's not going to happen. You'll. So, and the doctors are learning how to sell because they need to move people from the idea that if you are a smoker and you get this thing, it'll kill you. But you have to sell the idea. You can't. So all of a sudden, everybody is becoming a salesperson. We need to move people, and the whole point of sales is to take the person you're moving on a journey from one place to another. So first of all, we have to learn how to listen to people, to ask intelligent questions, to understand what their situation is. And then we have to take them on that journey to the situation that we'd like them to be in, which in business is them giving us money, but is in a doctor's case them giving up smoking, or in a parent's case to stop their child being a nuisance, or whatever it is. We need to learn and it is a skill. That's the thing. It's not a natural thing. I mean, I had a daft story, and it's a simple thing. I'm a sales expert. That's what I do. And I was on a beach in a sunny country, and a guy, a street guy, came up to me to sell me a beach wrap for my wife. Would you like a beach wrap for my wife? Would you like a? And I said, how much are they? He said, $30. I said, gee, no way. Definitely not. You know, we argued and argued and argued. And in the end, he sold me one for $15, you see. And okay, it was a great thing. And then I thought, yeah, but he may be a great beggar, a great street trader, but he's not a great salesman. And I went back to him and I said, look, how much does every tourist pay for these? He said, oh, $15 every time. I said, do you make money? And he said, yeah, I do. He said, I make money. He said, He said, I buy them for $5, so I make $10 every time I sell one. I said, that's great. And how many do you sell? He said, I sell 1, maybe 2 every hour. I said, why don't you do this? I said, say to the customer, I'll do you half price. You can have 2 for the price of 1. You can have 2 for $30. So that's $15 each. I'm cutting the price in half. And that doubles your sales. And I saw him the next year. I went to the same place. He's driving a new car.
Oh my God.
So, you know, even helpful, friendly people, the little guy, you ring up and say, oh, hi, hey, you know, this is international ball bearings. I'm Brian, how can I help? And you go, oh, do you sell 6-meter bearings? I do, yeah, we do. Good. And the phone goes, you say to this guy, who was that? I don't know. Where was he ringing from? I have no idea. You know. So we actually just train the simplest people just to say, who's calling, please? Can I take a number? And do we do 6-meter bearings? Ooh. Never say yes. Never make it look easy. Ooh. I'm not sure. What do you need them for? And how many did you need? Oh, well, I need them for the wheels of my locomotive, and we probably want 100. And when do you need them? But the guy's just doing a sale now. You know, when do you need them? Should we deliver them? You know, from a simple phone call of, do you sell? Where, do you sell silk? Yes. Do you sell coconuts? Yes. You know, coconuts, really. Even if you don't sell coconuts. You know, even if you're a bicycle shop and somebody rings up and says, do you sell coconuts? You go, oh, coconuts, really? You don't say, no, we're a bicycle shop. You go, coconuts, really? How many coconuts? We need 50 tons of coconuts. You think, well, my cousin sells coconuts. I can see some money coming here. So, you know, really simple, basic selling I call it creating an entrepreneurial culture. You know, where everybody, from your van drivers, your service engineers, to everybody knows that their whole livelihood depends on the complete organization selling. I say finding and keeping customers is the only activity that generates revenue. Everything else involves you in cost.
So, Geoff, what advice would you like to give the business development teams to get through these times? Sure.
Huh?
What advice would you like to give the business development teams or the sales teams to get through these times?
Well, first of all, cut back on any weight. Plan. Have a good plan. Might last longer than you think. So, somebody said once, many years ago, when we were all frightened of atomic bombs, that you needed a bicycle, a rucksack full of baked beans, and a shotgun, and you could survive for years. So you have to have the business equivalent of that. What weight can we lose? How can we protect our suppliers? There's no good saying, well, we're all right, but the little guy that makes the shiny thing that screws on the top of our product is now starved to death, because we'll want him back. So we want to get our big club together. Then we've got to get rid of any extra weight. We've got to do that. But then also, we don't want to just stop and not think about what's going to happen, because you know what? President Trump might not be as mad as we think. I think he is, but he might suddenly start selling a vaccine, and this is be over next week, and we'll all be stuck there. It's like having a running race that has been postponed. So we've taken our shoes off and gone for a paddle in the river, and we hear the starting gun go off. You know, it's and everybody leaves us behind. So we mustn't be left behind. We must, again, it's a great time for, if you can, just doing some online training, some chats to your people. Like we're having a good talk now. There's nobody here that couldn't get his team, his employers, suppliers, customers. You know, I'm still approaching my customers. Because I'm checking they're okay. I'm talking to them, and I hope that when this starts again, I'll be very busy. So, you know, we are in this together, the whole world.
Geoff, there's a question from our audience. In the perpetual battle between sales and marketing, who should be given priority during an economic down such as this?
Sales and marketing. Do you know, it drives me nuts that you get this, anything, sales, marketing, production, you know, the fact that there is any gap between them is, I had a fantasy once. I worked for a concrete company or something, and I had this kind of fantasy dream that one day, and I did a presentation, and the result was a shock to me. And I had this idea that you could build a photocopier out of concrete as one of their products. So the story is that a guy says, I've got this great idea. We could make a photocopier out of concrete. And the guys in technical say, oh yeah, we could develop that. That would be good. We do this, we do that. So we make this thing. And then they make this thing, and then they go to marketing, and they call it, what should we call? Oh, it's great because it's a concrete photocopier. We call it the rock hard printer, rock hard print, the heavyweight business thing, this, that, and the other. So then they produce brochures, and they're shiny, and then they go to sales and say to sales, this is a concrete photocopier, sell it. Well, here's the brochures, here's the price. So they go out and sell this thing. You buy one of these things, it breaks down. Then the service engineer comes to mend it and says, they're rubbish, these things. And you go, why? He said, because you can't fix them, because they're made of concrete. You can't get inside, and they're rubbish. Yeah, they're dangerous, actually. You know, I don't like repairing them. They're dangerous, you know. And I said at this presentation, do you know what? Before you start, why don't marketing, sales, technical, service, production, and research actually get together? And they said that I was a rebel. You know, and you think, well, it drives you absolutely mad that you have bits of a company that have bits that don't work with each other, that won't work with each other. You know, the salespeople should be able to say to marketing, I can't sell this. And the repair guy going, it's really hard to repair this. You know, because there's a horrible joke. What do you, I don't know, in India, what do you call the things that children pick out of their nose? Bogies, we call them.
Yeah, I think bogey is what we call it as well.
Yes. Well, what's the difference between cabbage and bogies? You can't get children to eat cabbage. See?
Yes.
If you want a child to eat a cabbage, you let them grow a cabbage. If you give a child a packet of cabbage seeds and they grow them, they will eat them. Yeah. And it's the same with change in your business. If people feel that they were involved, if the repair guy was in at the very beginning, and let's say his name was Fred, you know, and we said, we're going to call this photocopier the Fred 5000, he would have such pride in it that he would never complain when he came to fix it. He would say to people, I helped design this. It's a great machine. You know, I say to people when they talk about change, bosses always want their staff to own the problem. And I say people don't want ownership, they want authorship. You know, and again, if we were together and we all agreed this was a great idea, then we would have confidence in helping make it work. But sales go, oh, well, marketing is stupid. And they go out to prove it. You know, they prove it by failing to sell this thing. And you say, why did you fail to sell it? They say, because marketing's stupid. You know, marketing say it's because sales are useless. But then the service guy says, I'm glad they don't sell them because I hate fixing them, you know. So we cannot have these divisions. We must not have these divisions. It ruins. I did a thing of I treat sales to the weirdest people. And I did one to the world's biggest firm of lawyers. And these guys think they're God, you know. They say, what's the difference between God and a lawyer? And the difference is that God doesn't think he's a lawyer. So you go to this guy, you pay him so much money, and you say, he says, this is your new contract for employment, and this, and that. And then you say to him, by the way, do you know anybody who's done advice on property? No. But his partner in the room next door is a property expert. But he would rather die than give work to his colleague, you know. They never work together. And the higher up they are, the more uninclined they are to work together. You know, they like to gather their people around them, you know. So they sit in a coffee bar and say, hi, John, how are you? I'm good. What do you do? I'm a manager. How many people do you manage? 12. Ha! I manage 20. You know, that's so right. So they just surround themselves with pretty useless people. When actually that they again this crisis, because people are working from home, they're doing what is needed, not what they're seen. There's a joke about a British business that there's this guy who's a guy in efficiency sees 3 men pushing one barrow, 2 men on one handle and 1 on the other, and they goes, why is 3 of you pushing this cart? And they say, because it's the other guy's day off. So in a way, this is forcing efficiency on us too. So, you know, it's a terrible situation. It's very scary. But the ones of us who do sail through this are going to have a good harvest.
Absolutely. I think we just have to make the best of these times and keep learning and keep growing through these. And I think we'll just sail through once this ends.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Geoff. It's been a pleasure having you here.